as you consider whether or not I can actually help you in what you're trying to accomplish, a natural thing that you should think through is clients that you have or prospects that you have before they bring you on board are running the exact same scenario in their mind. I'm going to basically consider hiring this financial advisor. It all sounds good, looks good, not exactly sure what's involved, so we'll take the shot. And we'll kind of see how things work out. Because you can't really perceive from a client's perspective whether or not you can bring value to the relationship on just your value proposition statement, which, by the way, I think are just ridiculous. So if we were to work together, let me explain to you how this thing starts. Now, the numbers we're looking at are from an FA I met when he was LOS 2. Came through a program, I think locally. I think a local district director had asked us to come in and do it. And to say this guy paid attention would be an understatement. He actually came through 2 or 3 times. So we connected more recently, and it was just great to get back in touch with him and find out that when I asked him, so how did you build such a monster business? His response was, I did what you told me. And I just kept optimizing it and figuring it out and moving forward, and here I am. He said, I'd love to hire you but I think I've got everything going. Went through every question I could ask. It was hysterical because he was basically doing it. Are you doing this? Yes, this, yes, 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 yes. And then the last one was, I'm not sure. I said, that I'm not sure sounds like it could be a problem. Like, yeah, let's do the analysis and see where we go. All I needed from him was T12 at the household level, households indexed by number, and AUM per household. And here's what I built. This is called a client relationship quotient study. Figured it out during my Merrill days. They used to have it for stocks, called a QRQ. So, Highline Group, names are made up to protect the innocent, obviously. Let's go through and see what we've got. FA, when I first started interacting with him last February, 1.4 billion with a B. 154 households, not bad. T12, a little over 4 million. Average AUM per household, 9.5. Everything looks great until you start to pull the thing apart. I divide this thing into 3 tiers. I look at the top 1/3, middle third, and the bottom third. Now, it doesn't mean you're going to make a decision as to whether or not you keep or you go. What I'm trying to do is really get a study going and understand where are you spending your time, but who's paying for that time, because there is a mismatch there that starts to occur almost in your second year, and it just gets worse over time. So, average productivity per household was 26K. Anything above 35, 1/3 above is here. Anything below 17,732 is the lower tier, and anything between here is tier 2. So let's go across and see what we'll see. Kind of expected. Almost $1 billion in tier 1, 27 households. The total production from there is 2.7, which basically represents 67% of production and 17% of the households. So the quick study is this. If you could double these households, think about that just for a second. Double the households. You got 54 households, which means you no longer have 154. You only have 54. Assume you're working 1/3, 2/3 less, and you're making essentially double this. You're at 5.4. Pretty good trade at that point. Average AUM, 35 million. Average productivity per household, 102 million. Now, he's dealing with extraordinarily large relationships. And a lot of the relationships, they might have some cash management components to them. They might have some really low payout stuff to it, but a lot of it's managed money. So 0.29 for this average relationship size. He's got breakpoints built in, I thought. Not all that worried about it. Got a little more concerned when I look down here, because this book looks a little bit more like a standard FA book. You've got real high, by the way, average assets per household. That's excellent at 8 million. But it appears that the breakpoints he's extending the clients with 50 or 100 million, of which he has clients in that, is kind of the same here and here. So, okay, so we've got 51 households. We've got a total of 40% of the households generating almost 88% of the business. Not unusual. That's fine. Still significant numbers. Again, but where I had a real issue was down here. We got 93 people, a lot of whom have been with him since the beginning. Friends, relatives, relationships. He likes them. Doesn't call them. Doesn't talk to them that often. And by the way, doesn't charge them properly. Basically, with these folks, he just kind of moves through and says, if I can get 30 or 40 basis points, it's a big book. Everything's fine. No, it's not fine. Because first of all, if you own them, they're on your book, you deserve to talk to them. They deserve to hear from you. They also deserve an appropriate amount of attention because these people in the lower tier, they all have more money you don't know about. So when we started looking at this, it was 93 households producing $558,000 in T12 production per household. Essentially, it was 13.7% of productivity. So if you think about this a little bit, if you're an FA at LOS 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, somewhere in there, you kind of know what you're doing, you would love to get these accounts. Think about that. Wouldn't you love to basically participate in accounts that have average AUM of 2.3 million? You just don't have those accounts in that frequency when you're just starting out. So this was something I paid a lot of attention to, especially to 0.26. Now, I'm going to go you through this relatively quickly, talking about how we fill out the rest of this report. So this measures the quantitative aspect of your book. How much, from who, how long, and so on. Down here, we get into the quality of the relationships. So I plot the initial plot in 3 essential tiers. Current production scores of 1, 2, or 3. I can do that. That's why it's in blue. It means it's been done. What's in orange needs to be done by you, the FA. In this case, what we're looking at is we've got quality relationships. A 1, a great friend that became a great client. A 2, just a great client. You're sociable, they're affable people, you like them. You don't really see them socially, but they're terrific clients. You really enjoy dealing with them. A relationship of 3 is more transactional, brokerage side, even though you may have managed money. They're usually judging you based on your last recommendation. They have money elsewhere, which you may or may not know. But as long as you feel they're being honest with you and open, yeah, do you keep them? We'll see. But again, you don't have that primary financial advisor role, which is really what you want to aspire to in every household that you service, so you don't have to wonder who you are every time you pick up the phone. If you've got someone that's got a quality ranking of a 4 basically means they don't like you, you don't like them, no matter how affable, how pleasant you've been, how much you've tried to build a relationship. Essentially, you're there at their beck and call. They're somewhat, if they're not nasty on the phone, they're cold. They don't really share information. They're very short with your assistance. Every time you hang up the phone, you wonder to yourself, what am I doing wrong? Why can't I get this person to look and act like the rest of my book? Guess what? They're not going to do it. It's not your fault. I've never converted a 4 to a 3 or a 2 or a 1. I've converted plenty of 3s to 2s and a lot of 2s to 1s. But if I identify a client as a 4, they're gone. I don't care how much money they have. It doesn't matter because they are going to impact my entire team. They're going to be nasty to my administrative assistant. That's going to impact her work. I'm going to think about my failure or inability to get them to see what I'm trying to explain to them. And I'm going to consider that I did something wrong as the FA. Enough already. I don't need it. I don't need to think about one person out of 150 that are just on my mind all the time. And you feel worse when you hang up the phone. You have a 4, shoot them on sight. Not literally, I mean move them somewhere. So we've got quality relationship can be 1, 2, 3, or 4. Current production score happens automatically. Future production score. Is this person going to continue to your best knowledge to do business with you and continue to maintain whatever that fee-based relationship is, more money may come in, whatever it might be, are they going to continue to be in the top 1/3 of your stack? The answer is yes, they'll get a 1 here. Now, they could get a 3 for current production score, but you happen to know they're inheriting a whole bunch of money, which will likely give them a 1 going forward, which is going to impact their overall score. Referrals, yes or no? If they've referred in the past, whether solicited or unsolicited, they get a 1. On the other hand, if you don't know, you've had the discussion, but nothing's come across, or you've never had the discussion, it's a 2. It's an unknown. You just don't know what's going to happen. A 3 means either you don't want any referrals from this person, or you solicited them and they said, no, we don't believe in that. I don't believe in that. I don't do that. That usually, to me, will be a very early warning sign, because the way I approached my business was, if you opted not to deal with me, you were doing so at your own peril. Because I firmly believed, as I still do, that if I was responsible for guiding your decision-making toward a particular goal, you weren't going to find anybody that could do it better than I could. And if each and every one of you don't have that opinion about your own ability, what are you doing here? You're basically, every time you sign a client, you're saying, there's better people out there, but you got me instead. No. Because if you believe it strongly enough, you'll fill in the rest of it to make it real. But your belief has to be, if these clients or prospects don't retain me, it's their loss. And if you don't feel that all the time, you're missing the boat. Now, we take these 4 numbers, we divide them, we get a number. Low is good. Perfect score is 1. So you can see here we've got some 1.25s and all the rest. So without boring you with the entire sheet, I'll show you the results here in a minute. But this FA, I think we worked out his overall average among all of his clients, all 154, was I think 1.83. So the cut line I made, I think, was 2. So anyone with a rating of 2 or below, we segregated. Anything with a rating of above 2, we segregated, and I'll show you what that looks like. Next, investment performance. If you have a recently drawn cash flow, that cash flow projection is tied to their investments, a la with an appropriate asset allocation, and you're discussing how the asset allocation is going to drive the outcome, and your responsibility is to manage the allocation, not try and beat some hot dot, you've objectified the rate of return. If the discussions you're having with your clients even currently are, we really got hammered this year, we're down 20%, market's this, market's that, missing the boat, guys, completely. The conversation should be, we started this 10 years ago, we optimized your portfolio for a 6.5% return. Even with the recent market drawdown, we're still tracking at an 8.8% return. We are fine. That's objectifying your rate of return. Client looks at what just happened. Is it going to impact them long term? No. Why? Because you're actively managing the allocation to match the outcome. That's an objective rate of return. Next, exceptional service. Are you talking to these people a minimum of 9 times per year? Well, what do we talk about? Who cares? What's the difference? You are the only one of them in their life managing their assets. You, on the other hand, have 150 or 200 of that individual who wants to believe they are your only client. How do you let them know they're important? Because you're thinking about them? When they call you for an update, you're already behind the curve. Those calls can last anywhere from 2 minutes to an hour. But it's where I picked up almost every single referral I ever received. I talked about referrals up front when I opened the relationship as a method of compensation. Frequency of contact, I was there. I was in the way of their lives. Not being an obstructionist, but I was in the way from the perspective of they knew they'd hear from me regularly. We would talk about the market when it was important. We'd talk about their family when it was important. I was aware of everything that was going on. And I found extraordinary opportunities to get closer and closer with a great group of people. And at the same time, nobody left. I mean, I think I can remember on one hand when I was surprised that a client went someplace else. There was a whole other story to it. Everything was fine. It was cordial. However, if you follow this, objectify the rate of return and give them exceptional service, 9 contacts per year, risk assessment is low. By risk assessment, what we're talking about is the likelihood that somebody like me is going to get them on the phone and be able to get them into a conversation to find out you, as the FA on the other side, ain't doing your job. And I define exactly what that is. Check out the next video, and I'll show you what happened with this FA.